My name's Ryan Fuller. I grew up in LA, born and raised in LA. I'm living in Laguna Beach currently. And yeah, I've been collecting for about, maybe 13 years now. Collecting Supreme. Started with sneakers back in the 90s, and it just elevated to Supreme. Started picking up Supreme shit. This all began in about 2008. I was collecting Supreme. I just felt like decks were the ultimate item that Supreme put out. You know, it's skate, it's art, it's everything. So just bought one, and once I had one, I had to have them all. This is the one and only complete collection of Supreme skateboard decks in the world. Nobody else has them all. I have every deck they've ever released from 1998 until now, until today. And I'm the only one with the complete collection. This show right here, we have my collection of Supreme skateboard decks, and we also have my buddy Yukio. He has every single accessory that Supreme has ever released. It's a little joint effort, and now we have everything that Supreme's ever released, accessory-wise and skateboard decks.
My name's Yukio Takahashi. Started in 2004, my freshman year of high school. My older brother that I was assigned at my boarding school handed me his hand-me-downs, and in that bag there were Supreme articles of clothing. I didn't think much of it. I just wore it. I got all the plain stuff, no graphics. And then years later, around 2010, 2011, I just started, I don't know what got me back into it, but I just started collecting here and there. I picked up things like the basketball and some of the older stuff. And then 2012, around the time of the harmonica, then I just really started like actively collecting. I made a list and started like an active collection. To the best of my knowledge, this is 100% of any accessory Supreme has ever released. There are a bunch of samples, I can't get those. Anything that they've sold, I think I have, but there's no database that shows me every single thing. So to my knowledge, after everything I've ever seen, I have everything. Minus the bike that came out today.
Basically, we have every deck starting from 1998 when the first decks were released, and it goes chronologically around the gallery from 1998 until now. They released a lot fewer decks back in the 90s and early 2000s. As you can see, it starts at 98, ends in 2004. So that's a span of 6 years on this one wall. The back wall and this wall over here are all 2000, and it's the past, I would say, 2 years maybe. So they've been releasing a lot more decks recently. But yeah, back in the early days of Supreme, it was a lot more spread out than it is now. So this is the Dan Colin set from 2003. It was the final set that I needed to complete to actually have every single deck that Supreme ever released. It was this one, in fact. I was looking for this deck for 10 years, I would say. Finally found it at the end of last year and completed my collection. This set is incredibly difficult. I've seen probably maybe 3 other completed sets in the past 10 years besides this one. So basically, Supreme releases, they'll do collaborations with artists, and there'll be multiple decks. For example, Nate Lohman right here, we have 2. Richard Prince 2. They'll do single decks, or they'll do multiples in a set. The largest one they've done is an 8-deck set with Mike Kelly.
Supreme has a heavy emphasis on baseball since they're a New York brand and baseball is very important. So I think it's important, and this is their little baseball section. Most expensive item would most likely be this. This is temporarily donated. Thank you, Ricky. There are some for sale right now. They're floating around 50,000, 60,000. When they came out, they sold for around 70,000, 80,000. It's almost like furniture. I can't wait to have one.
Supreme is real quiet about things. They don't really let anybody know exactly what's coming out. So every week on Thursday when they do their drop, you'll have different Instagram sites, different blogs, web pages that will let people know a couple days in advance that get some inside info. But Supreme's real hush-hush about that shit. So it's basically you wait till Thursday and see what happens. I didn't know they were gonna release any more decks this year, and they dropped another one today. So I gotta get that and get it up on the wall so I still have the complete collection. George Condo, I would say that this is probably my favorite set out of all the decks that Supreme has released. I've always been a big fan of George Condo's art. They were released back in 2010, and they're pretty hard to come by now, and they cost a pretty penny for these things. Out of all the decks here, we have like these cruiser decks. They're incredibly hard to come by. There's a few other people who are close to having the complete collection, but these are some of the decks that they're missing. I guess people bought them and skated them back when they dropped, so not too many people thought of them as collector's items, I'm guessing, but they're incredibly difficult to come by. All the decks that Supreme's released, I would say that this FBI set, it's a 4-deck set that released back in 2004. These ones are probably the rarest decks out of them all. This is in fact the only complete set I've ever seen. I was lucky enough to come across it early in my collecting days. This one was easy for me to get. I had a friend in the UK who had them all and sent them over to me. But yeah, I would say this is the most difficult set to complete nowadays.
In terms of favorites, this is pretty high up there, since this was like one of the few things I was missing for a while, and it looks good, and there's like a story to getting it, so that's always going to be a favorite. Black Camacho doll. I like the tape. I like anything that's tool related. Toolboxes, bolt cutters, hatchet. I like those, and I like the flashlights, especially the big mag lights, the 6L ones. Supreme releases corresponding box logo stickers just about every season. Starting from the most recent ones, you have Public Enemy, Skull Pile, yada 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 there. Once you get to about here back, they're nearly impossible to find. I have seen photos of some rounded cornered box logo stickers that I don't possess. I'm sure they're out there somewhere. I've never seen any for sale. But when you're talking about stuff that's printed, I'm sure that's like a whole nother world that I don't have access to. I would say the funkiest item would be the brass balls.
So a good example of Supreme doing whatever the fuck they want is here we have Scarface collab, and then Michael Jackson, and over there we have Dr. Seuss, Cat in the Hat, and then they have artist collaborations like Jeff Koons, Damien Hirst, George Condo. So they pretty much do anything and everything, you know? It's all over the place. So here we have the official Louis Vuitton collab. Supreme did a Louis Vuitton monogram print back in 2000, and Louis filed a cease and desist. So they've gone from getting a cease and desist from Louis Vuitton to doing an official collaboration. This deck retailed for $56,000 with the trunk, and I'm rumored to be less than what do they say? 20, less than 20 of these things in the world. So it's pretty rare, very expensive, very cool. Came with the trucks, hardware, wheels, grip tape, everything. And what's unique about this right here is that this actually is the first collaboration that Louis Vuitton has ever done with another brand. They've done many artist collaborations in the past, but never with another brand. So this is an iconic piece for sure. I grew up skating, yeah. I'm a little older now, so a little bit more fragile. You know, I'll still get up on a board every once in a while. For me, it was a task to complete the entire collection, and it was kind of like a race. I wanted to be the first one to do it, and once I did it, I wanted to get it up on display. So seeing it up like this is real cool, and the response that we've gotten, everybody coming to check it out, the hype that it's brought, like it's been real cool, man.